I'm Leila Daaboul. I'm the Learning Support Coordinator at ALS. We are a growing department across 3 campuses with Mr. Mohammad Khalifa on the boys campus, Ms. Nardin Faragalla on the girls campus, and Ms. Rana Mhaidle on the PYP campus. I hope this podcast gives you a clear idea what the Learning Support Department does at ALS to support its students.
Hello everyone, we're back on ALS podcast. I'm your host, Tabitha. We're here in the boys' side learning support department, taking advantage of what they have in the classroom here. We're here with Leila and Mohammad, and just to discuss learning support all together and what it's all about. Okay, so from my understanding, this department wasn't established until 2 years ago, up until 2 years ago. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I first got here 4 or 5 years ago, around 5 years ago, there was no learning support. It was just a learning support teacher on every campus, and they would just go in classes, kind of a learning assistant, and they would help students, weak students or struggling students. But there was no protocol, no guidance or anything. So yeah, and now we're a department. It's been 2 years and we're growing with our new addition, Mohammad Khalifa and Rana Mhaidle, PYP. And we're trying as much as possible to, show what the learning support can do, try to support our students, advocate for them, and, try to spread awareness and truth around inclusion and, student differences.
Okay, so our viewers might be wondering, what is the learning department all about? So what is the primary role?
Well, the primary role is usually collaborating with parents and students and teachers, and we usually work on plans to make sure that we remove the barriers of students, make sure that they can access their learning and that they don't have any struggles while they're in their learning journey.
And everyone can feel included in that.
Yeah.
Can you explain the referral process from the learning support in general and how it works? Who can make a referral and what happens after a student is referred?
So the process starts with the teacher noticing some difficulty with the student that impact their academic journey. So they start few strategies before them. For example, they notice the students have an issue with focusing during instructions time. They take a long time to answer some things that might also be common in some of the learning difficulties. They do some strategies such as giving them some time, extra time, maybe repeat instructions for them, things like that. But if strategies they try don't work, they refer them to us through our school portal, and we take it from there. So that's one step from the teacher, or it can be from the parents at the beginning of the year. They know already there's learning difficulty with the kid, or they notice the symptoms later on that there is an attention deficit, or they need extra time to do things, their organization skills need to be worked on. They refer them to us. And then, as a department, I go in the boys section, I go to the classrooms, observe the students and see if they really have a learning difficulty or not. So we assess by observing.
Okay.
We talk to the teachers because we work as a team.
Yes.
And then if we see the concern from the teacher is valid, we go ahead and contact the parents. It's a process where they need to evaluate the child, and if there is a learning difficulty, we go ahead and start supporting them by creating an IEP and provide other supports that we can mention.
So it's an ongoing process with everybody. Okay. And then how, going forward, if the process continues, how do teachers, parents, and learning support team work together to create this effective plan that a student might need?
So what we usually do is there is an ongoing process of monitoring. So after we've set the accommodations and we've worked on them, what we do is we do like check-ins, monthly, weekly, assessment-based, depending on the student's needs. And we move from there. Either we change accommodations or we continue with the accommodations, or if we feel like there's no progress at all with that, we request further evaluation from the parents.
Okay. And we all see that a lot of students, many students do need support in and outside of learning support on a daily basis. So What kinds of interventions does the department provide to help these students succeed academically, but not only academically, socially too, as well?
So we do work with other departments such as the instructional coach or other teachers and counseling. We do this as a team and we provide support. Our door is open to teachers to come and ask for strategies because, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes there's a common or commonality with the difficulties between someone who has a learning difficulty because of something with the brain functioning.
Yes.
And sometimes there's no diagnosis or
they all need
functionality, but they still need support.
So basically what we do is we provide access arrangements, but we make sure they're in line with the Ministry of Education and the IB. So we do have to follow those guidelines. We cannot come up with accommodations that are not recommended by the doctor or are just random. So it's based on observations, feedback, teacher surveys. It's like basically the interventions that you are allowed to give within the IB guidelines.
And sometimes it's resources, sometimes it's strategies.
Differentiation is important in our classrooms. Yes.
All the time. Sometimes question clarifications. There are different variants of that, but usually we do recommend that teachers try to use the resources, which are sometimes provided by us later, accommodations. So if those teachers use those resources, they don't have to probably resort to getting referred.
And I know in America they do pull out and push in sessions. I'm wondering, does ALS do that as well?
Yes, in the PYP campus, we do a lot of pull-outs, specifically if a student is struggling, because in PYP we focus on the foundational skills, so to kind of move at the student's pace, we do have to do most of the push-outs, pull-out sessions. And of course there's in-class support, we do most of that here on the girls and the boys campus. And and we do provide additional, like sometimes we give at-home enrichment for the student to follow up with. So
our goal is to keep the student as much as they can or able to
stay within the classroom, so it doesn't ruin their social life or daily life in general.
Unless, like I said, there's a necessity, we pull them out. Sometimes it's for exams, because especially students who have ADHD have a problem focusing. So a quiet room like the one we're in right now is a suitable environment
for test taking and important classroom. Okay, so if a student is in the learning support department or part of it, how does this help support the student in their daily school life and build that independence and confidence? Yes.
I would say just like any support, it changes people's lives when they receive the support. Because right now they're in one spot where they feel like they're incapable, or they see their peers advancing and still in the same spot. And despite the fact that it's only the support they need so they can catch up with their peers and perform well in their academics. So we give that to them. Support, we provide confidence, gives them confidence. Today I had an incident, for example, a student came to me, he didn't do well on the exam, and he asked me what can I do? And then I sat with him, we looked over his IEP, because I like for the students, one of our goals also to make them, to let them be advocates for themselves.
What they need for themselves.
Know their needs, know their areas of weakness, that need improvement, and talk directly to the teachers and following on their IEP. So I told a kid, please go to the teacher, let him know that you didn't have enough time. As we see in your IEP, you get extra time. He was a little shy first. I gave him a note and I sent it to the teacher, and he felt confident when he came back with that exam. I saw in his eyes. And the teacher was happy to help also, giving the student another chance. So it closes the gap between the student, gives them confidence.
And they do also need someone to believe in them. So sometimes when we sit and discuss their accommodations with them, we do highlight their strength. But I do tell a student, it says in your report that there is that area of strength, use it, take advantage of it. And we've had students that I had the year before actually not being, they weren't motivated, they wouldn't follow up on their assignments, they wouldn't do, and I'm not capable, I can't do much, like, with the effort. So the year after we had discussed like what they're capable of and their strength, and don't tell me you didn't know how to do that because it specifically says here you're smart, you know? So I did see a huge like difference of the change of how they became more proactive about their learning, and they started to come to me and say, I finished this and finished that, I need to do this and do that, if I need help I'll let you know. So just come and give me like feedback on what they're doing, and it did affect their performance and academic grades, and the teachers were coming up to me saying that they've improved. So it does give that positive.
Being able to feel confident in
Yeah.
a student, even for us as teachers.
Yeah.
it
I
helps.
was about to say that it's almost a teacher nightmare. When you have a student that's diagnosed with ADHD, if he's not involved in the learning process, he's going to turn the classroom into hell because he's not learning. He's going to act up. And that's a question I had from a teacher yesterday. They asked me, you guys handle behavior difficulties or issues? And I said, we don't. We work with the counseling team, with the behavior team. And however, when we provide the academic support for the student and we build their confidence, it changes their personality. Because there is a reason for the behavior. They don't just wake up in the morning and they go like, okay, today I'm going to turn this Leila's life here. The behavior has a function, and that function is usually that they're not involved. So they want to escape.
Yeah, and we do see that in most classes that when a student likes a teacher, they perform better. So
to build those relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Relationships are the most important thing. Which brings me to another question with this idea of the whole community being involved, such as parents, teachers, principals, admin, the whole shebang. Okay, everybody in charge.
Takes a village.
Takes a village. Yeah, right. Takes a village. Why is it so important to have this happen? I mean, I know that it's important, but for the learning support department specifically, like, why is it important to have all hands on deck?
Because really, learning support is not just in this room and between these walls. It extends.
Yeah.
We don't want to provide the support without communication, or there is a miscommunication, and that support will have no value. So in order to have an impact on the child, we have to work with the teachers, supervisors in the school, we have to work with the admins, and sometimes even with the tutors.
The whole community has to be involved.
Yes, exactly. And they each know, they have to know their role, their responsibility towards that role, to being part of the student's success. So as a teacher, I have to know that I have to put the effort in trying different strategies. As a parent, I need to know that I need to follow up and believe in my kid, and if they're struggling, I need to report it and ask for help. So every person has a role that they need to take part of in order to see that, because if there's no consistency, we're not going to be seeing that success in the student.
Yeah.
And we have cases where the child see that everybody's has hands-on.
Yeah.
We see the
More
impact.
success. Yes.
But when the opposite happens, if they see the support is coming just for me, but then he goes to the classroom and the teacher doesn't apply the IEP, then they just play along with it and
they kind of give up.
Everyone has to be part of the change if we want to help the students.
To make a difference.
And sometimes to be part of the change, there are stigmas. So the word learning support in general kind of has a stigma to it. And how can we as a team get through that stigma?
Well, I believe that everybody struggles with something.
Yes.
So we can't just say, oh, those are not the normal kids or those are the learning support kids. We have to just know that every person has strengths and they have weaknesses, of course, that we can work on. But we have to highlight the strengths. And we have to normalize the fact that if you're struggling with something, you're supposed to get support or get help for it.
And we've been working hard on this process. So let's talk about the events maybe in the period section.
The successful events, y'all did a good job.
That was a long 3-day event. But we did also work with the counselor on with the kindness and the anti-bullying.
Okay.
And trying to integrate that with including everyone, focusing on inclusion. And we did see some students really like in the PYP, I had 4th and 5th graders coming up to me and saying, we want to take part, you know. And I do have some 8th grade students and other students from the 6th and 7th who are also excited about spreading awareness. So this shows like when you see that, you feel like, yes, we are a community. And you can see the ALS values there, you know, with the care.
We're trying to reach everyone too. So like I said, the students, teachers, we provide support like we said earlier. Yesterday I had a kind of learning support session called IAP in Action. And I'm working with admins now on creating some scenarios we can do just for the purpose of education for the teachers about what we do and how we can work together. And reach out for the parents also, sometimes provide support, provide updates, and letting them know that the difficulty their kid has can be worked on, highlight the strength.
Yeah, we also highlighted like awareness months, you know, like in October is known for ADHD and dyscalculia.
That's good to build awareness.
Yeah, we kind of cooperated with the coaching, the instructional coaching. They have a weekly or a monthly newsletter that comes out. And we worked with the instructional coach on providing teachers highlights of certain struggles a student can face if they have a learning difficulty, and some of the ways how to deal with it, like suggesting different strategies or resources they can use. So I think once you give awareness of what symptoms are a learning difficulty, not a child just being difficult, the teachers can probably use it and work with it to help the student instead of just complaining that the student doesn't take class seriously.
So even with the spreading of awarenesses and the successful events going on between the students and you guys and the Learning Support Department, there are going to still be some children who may feel different or embarrassed. How do we approach that as a team?
Definitely, and it can happen for many reasons. It might be due to their learning difficulty, it might be due because of another student bullying them for the learning difficulty. So we do one-to-one session with that student. We highlight their strengths, like we mentioned earlier, and we provide them sometimes with success stories. Like we all know.
The famous celebrities.
Those help. We did.
Celebrities, people in technology, and so on have difficulty, and we even had a success story because we have staff that has had learning difficulty and overcame it and became. Teachers or admins and successful,
and they share it with the students.
And they share it with the students through our during our events, or even personally, they will be invited to the table and talk to them. And we saw changes. Some of these kids,
and we do know something that most of the students with learning difficulties are really the students who think outside the box. And that's like a superpower. So we do talk about their superpowers and we try to make them focus on something they might do in the future, so it helps them keep
to use it.
Yeah, exactly. So we do focus on that superpower. It's a superpower, not a difficulty word.
Plus, sometimes we turn them like our goal is to help them become aware of their weaknesses or areas of improvement, and becoming an even further advocate for themselves for that learning difficulty and for their accommodations to talk directly to the teachers and know what they're entitled for.
And I know the school really wants the students to start self-advocating for themselves and being part of their own learning processes. So it's not just the learning support students who need support, it's all of the students in general. But we do want to highlight the things that ALS has behind the scenes with Learning Support Department. So, because we are running out of time with the podcast here, I have one last question for you, which is, what is the one message you would like to communicate to the whole ALS community?
First of all, I would really like to thank you, ALS community, because especially the SLTs, our leaders, the principals, who have supported us the past year with all the events, and whenever there is any issue, they do intervene and they do communicate it with students, sometimes and parents. So that alone is just showing how our community is promoting our core values, and I think when we stick to those, we are actually, going to make a difference. Our teachers, we have teachers who never really got it, but now we have teachers coming up and asking, how can I help, how can I support? So we want to thank all the people.
I'd like also to thank everyone coming from the US and seeing how inclusive, the environment here, starting from the student coming through the school door, having the principal, teachers standing to greet them and welcome them to school, from the teachers applying accommodations and changing these children's lives, and everyone in the school. Really, it's such a safe and caring environment.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Well, I was going to say, well, thank you guys for sharing about learning support. It's definitely important, and I can't wait to see the great work that the department provides in the future, or the success stories that come with it.
And we're going to post the QR code for people to scan so they can learn more about our department and how to contact us if they have any questions.
I'll definitely check it out. Yeah.
Perfect.